Hey Wanda, what are you doing?
I'm coloring. I like to color. I've always liked to color since I was a kid. It's one of the things my grandkids and I like to do together. All of them. Well, except for the baby. The baby hasn't learned that yet. You know, stuff like this. But it's a beautiful day. I thought I'd come and sit out on the patio and enjoy my backyard and give an update. Um, I never know what to say when it comes to giving updates because there's a part of me that says, they're not going to be interested in everything going on in your life. And then I ask myself, why am I even giving updates? What is this for? Is it so I can raise funds for treatments and supplements? Is it for just information, people following my journey so they'll know? I don't know. I think might be a little of everything. Would I like to raise funds for cancer treatment? Yeah, I would. I know Paul made the comment a while back. He says, I would hate to think that you died from cancer just because of money. But the reality is, I don't care what kind of treatment you're doing. It can be traditional, chemo, radiation, surgery, all that usual stuff they do, or it can be natural. It can be going to a clinic in Mexico. It doesn't matter. It's all hugely expensive, which doesn't make sense to me from a human perspective. It makes no sense at all. I mean, there's a test that they can do that I would love to have called RGCC? No. RCCG? It's got those 4 letters in it. I think it's RCC. No. I know there's an R and a G and 2 C's. It's also called the Greek test because it's done in Greece. It's not done anywhere else. It costs approximately $1,900 in euros, or roughly $2,200. But the value of the test is it looks at your cancer genetically, and it breaks down exactly what is motivating your cancer. And then they do all these tests to find out whether a specific medication or vitamin or whatever. I mean, there's like, I don't know, over 100 different things they test for to see what actually attacks your cancer. That sounds hugely valuable to me. There are some cancers that just don't respond to chemo. And it's a proven fact that chemo makes all the circulating cancer cells, not necessarily your tumor, because there's 2 different things, but all your circulating cancer cells that can become tumors, resistant. So if you start with chemo from the onset, it's kind of like, well, I don't want to use that term that's crude, but it's not optimum. There's other things you can do first, but some people don't have that option. Some people have too much fear, and trust me, they push you. They push the fear thing. You got to have chemo, radiation, and you gotta. Well, I still don't want to do chemo and radiation. It doesn't matter how much time has gone by. Recently, this week, I had a conversation with my boss, and I told him, you need to look for somebody to replace me, because there's stuff I do at work nobody else knows how to do. And if I needed to take several weeks off or several months off or stop working altogether, that would really leave him in the lurch, and I don't want to do that. So I says, you need to start preparing, because this week I noticed some things that felt like lumps, and were very tender and hurt a lot. And I don't know if they're swollen lymph nodes because my body's trying to expel things or detox, or I don't know if it's, circulating cancer cells that have decided to reside in the breast again and become tumors. I don't know. I'd like to get a thermography test as opposed to a mammogram or a PET scan, but that's $395. So that's maybe something that I could afford in a couple of weeks, but there's a part of me that says, is that really going to be profitable? Is that $395 being used to the best of its ability? It cost me about $400 a month to get the supplements that I had been taking early on that actually contributed towards shrinking the cancer tumor before I had surgery. Diet also had a part to play in that. I recently started going more strict on my diet because I'd gotten a little bit lax because I was feeling good and didn't have any indication anything was going awry. But this week it made me realize that you really can't relax. You have to keep up the fight. You have to keep on the edge. You have to never forget that tomorrow everything could change. Cancer is a weird thing, and it's an extremely individual thing. I mean, they even say that two people can have the exact same kind of cancer, but because each one's genetic makeup is different, it's going to react differently, and thereby respond differently. So although my original tumor responded or was responding to the strict diet that I was on and the supplements that I was on, and probably some of the vitamin C treatments and stuff I was doing also added to that. But I haven't been able to continue with those kind of things because it's just too expensive. Matter of fact, just to get all the blood work redone is about $1,500. So, my primary care physician will only do, the typical CBC, complete blood work, blood count. But he won't do any of the other cancer things because he doesn't even know how to read them. I don't want to go back to the place where I originally started going to, the cancer center, because quite frankly that oncologist was a complete bully, and it shook my faith in that facility. Although I have to say the surgeon was wonderful. She was great. Even though she didn't want to do my surgery because she wanted me to have chemo and radiation first, I thought she was great. Her bedside manner was great. But the oncologist, not so much. So I really don't even want to go back there because all they are pushing as an institution is chemo, radiation, and surgery after chemo and radiation. So I personally don't think it would be even helpful to even ask them for some of these tests. I'm not even sure they would even know how to read them. Quite frankly, not everybody approves of the tests. There's multiple ones that I'd like to get. One, the RGCC or whatever it is, tests the genetic makeup of the cancer, but there's another one they can do, and it sounds like they're saying InQView, but I tried to look that up and couldn't find it, so I got that part wrong. But it tests for the functionality of the cancer, and both of these will tell you how many circulating cancer cells you have and whether or not they're actually responding to what you're doing, the diet, supplements, and all that kind of stuff. It would tell whether or not it's responding. I think that would be hugely beneficial. But there again, I don't have $2,200 to do that. So I say all that to say that if there's anybody out there that watches these videos and has the ability to contribute toward anything, I would greatly appreciate it. If not, don't feel bad. There's a lot of us that don't have money and can't afford to do the things that we might like to do. I know there's a lot of people that would like to help more, but they just don't have the wherewithal to do it. And right now, with all the stuff that's going on with COVID and people out of work and everything else, it's not any better than it was, 4 months ago. So I know this is turning out to be kind of a long video. Hopefully it's interesting. But suffice to say, I feel okay. I don't know how many people that watch this are religious, but I got to say this. I find it interesting that the very week after I got up in church and our fellowship and and testified that it's been a year since my diagnosis and that I'm feeling good and I feel strong. What happens the very next week? I start feeling pain and lumps and that weren't there the week before. Okay, I find that hugely odd, and I find that to be particularly spiritually of interest, because the enemy, the devil, Hasatan, whatever you want to call him, he'll challenge you, and he'll challenge your faith. And I know I don't talk about it a lot, but I'm a strong woman of faith, and we pray every day that God will heal me. And I actually believe that I've made it this far by the grace of God. I mean, I wake up every day thankful that I'm still waking up and still breathing and still alive and still have an opportunity to fight. But not everybody has those views, and I understand that. And, that's your choice. But for me, I feel like I'm in a fight. Even my dreams this week have been just bizarre. I even had a dream that death was knocking on my door. I literally opened the door, and this strange-looking entity, I'll call it that because it wasn't human, was standing in the door, and the word that came to my mind was death. And I thought, wow, I'm really in a fight for my life. Of course, in essence, we all are, but I feel like keeping positive attitude, not giving in, not what's the word I'm looking for? Submitting to the inevitability that, this could overcome me. I don't want to do that. I want to fight to my last breath against this. And I'm doing what's within my power to do, that I have the finances to do. But the reality is, if God allowed for it to overtake me, I would have to believe that he has a purpose in that. And some people will say, well, why would God do that? Blah, blah, blah. We never know why God does what he does. Always. I mean, sometimes the scripture tells us, but, it's funny things. Sometimes people need a death in the family to wake up and to realize things. And if my death caused, people to turn to God, then that's beneficial. In my opinion, that's beneficial. I would hope that it wasn't required, but I have to look at everything. I mean, I'm gonna digress a little bit. When I first got diagnosed, one of the things I never did, and I might have mentioned this before, was say, why me? Really, the question is, why not me? I mean, it can happen to any of us. And it doesn't matter whether you live a healthy lifestyle or not. We're so bombarded by environmental toxins and, stuff like that it could be any one of us. So I'm not angry at God or blaming him or anything like that. I've been dealt this, and I'm doing what I can to do my best to live healthy and to change my habits and to change those things that may have contributed to my getting it. But the last thing I want to do is to blame the Almighty for, that's just ridiculous. I could be seeing him face to face in the near future, and the last thing I want to do is be pointing fingers at my Creator. And so anyway, that was just a side note. So, I'll end it with this. I hope you are all blessed, that you are being provided for, that you are healthy. And I hope that you use wisdom in your choices and even the things you apply your money to. And I don't say that to say you should apply it to me. That's something that you got to pray about and make a matter of prayer, for lack of a better word. But, I appreciate everybody who views and everybody who contributes, and I love people, and I really do wish you well, and shalom. Peace. Thanks.